A very warm welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sharaf Dorji. Our top stories this week: Bhutan Airlines clarifies that passengers did not sustain injuries during evacuation. The Department of Traditional Medicine Services asks to follow proper procedures before prescribing traditional medicine to treat addiction. And a need is felt for inclusive childcare centers in the country. The Chief Executive Officer of Bhutan Airlines clarified that passengers sustained bruises and scratches and not injuries during evacuation last Saturday, when the airlines had to perform an emergency evacuation at the Kolkata airport. Some passengers cried foul on social media after Bhutan Airlines issued a statement saying none of the passengers were injured. Smoke seemed to have settled on the incident at Kolkata, but 2 days on, with Indian media reporting close to 20 people being injured, some people and passengers were seen posting on social media demanding for an explanation. The CEO of Bhutan Airlines explained what actually happened.
As our aircraft was taxiing and about to, take off, the Indigo airline radioed our captain, telling him that he saw a smoke on the tail section. This is tail section here, and immediately my captain, sensing that it was going to be a serious the situation, he deployed the slides and evacuated all the passengers.
He added, while carrying out safety precautions, some did sustain scratches and bruises, but no one was seriously injured.
Now, during the evacuation, I can understand that there would have been some bruises and scratches, and but these are hardly, can be treated as injury. Injury is something that you have to, move the people to the hospital for treatment. But here, none of the passengers had to go to a hospital. So they were all safe today, and there is no such complaints.
While the airlines maintained that they had no way to know about the smoke incident, the aircraft was flown on the same day to Bangkok, Thailand, to be refitted with the emergency slides. Once refitted, the aircraft will be recommissioned into service. Sharaf Dorji, PBS News. The Drug Regulatory Authority has asked the Department of Traditional Medicine Services to follow the existing and clinical trial and registration procedures before prescribing traditional medicines to treat alcohol, tobacco and doma addiction. This comes after a physician at the indigenous hospital started prescribing traditional medicines to treat addiction.
The Drug Regulatory Authority, through its letter, raised the legality and safety aspects of providing the medicines to the people to fight addiction. DRA says the medicine was not registered with the authority to treat addiction. A medicine, along with its intended purpose, has to be registered with DRA as per Bhutan Medicines Rules and Regulation 2012.
Any medicinal products, including herbal medicines in the country, that before it's been distributed for use in the market, in the health centers, these medicines has to be registered with the Drug Regulatory Authority. When they register these products, they need to provide us many important documents and information. And among this information, one of the very important information is the indications, approved indication for such products. And these products can be used only for those approved indications.
He said prescribing medicines that has not been approved during the registration is considered illegal. He added that the DRA also does not allow anyone to advertise any medicinal products in the market without approved indications.
We support such initiatives, we support such studies because it's going to do good for the general public, for the people of the country. We never know, even I might have to use that medicines in future. If such studies are through proper procedures, if proper mechanisms are followed, then we, not only us, any other relevant stakeholders, any other relevant agencies will not have problem in allowing such studies to be conducted.
The Department of Traditional Medicine Services said they did not authorize their physician, Trungso Tandenpup, to prescribe the medicines to the people. But officials said they are now consulting people who were prescribed the medicines to study its effect.
Accordingly, if people are found benefited, our Director General will recommend in the high-level committee meeting. Through my consultations with the people in 3 Dzongkhoks who availed the services, over 90% of them said they were able to quit alcohol because of that medicine.
The Drug Regulatory Authority says if studies prove the medicines to be effective, the authority will support its prescription. But to ensure the safety of the patients and avoid legal complications, the DRA for now has asked the hospital to follow the existing clinical trials and registration process. Till now, over 3,000 people have availed the services across the country. For Pema Cheong, Sringdandup, BBS News.
Despite the Health Ministry's advocacy program, not many women come forward for pap smear test. Doctors say the test plays an important role in screening cervical cancer.
Every year, more than 50 women are diagnosed with cervical cancer in the country. Majority of the cases are referred outside the country for treatment. Dr. Ugen Somu, a gynecologist at the National Referral Hospital, say since women do not come for a pap smear test, most cases of the cancer are diagnosed at an advanced stage.
The early cases picked up by pap smear can be treated in Bhutan. And then very late cases where radiation cannot be given are also not sent down. So they are treated with chemotherapy just to keep their quality of life better. So just to stop bleeding and stop discharge and pain and all. So we give them what we call palliative chemo. So in a year, about 9-10 women don't go down for treatment because they are diagnosed too late.
Cervical cancer in the country is common among women in their 50s. Dr. Ugen Somu said, while it is difficult to encourage women to take the test, a few of those who come are not regular with the test routine.
Quite a number of women who are diagnosed with cervical cancer, they have done pap smear in the past. But many of them have not picked up report, not come for colposcopy. Colposcopy is something that has to be done in women with abnormal pap smear. And then some women have done pap smear, done colposcopy, done treatment, again not come for follow-up.
As a measure to bring down the cases of cervical cancer in the country, the Health Ministry introduced the Human Papillomavirus Vaccine Program in 2010. Today, the cancer, in terms of incidence, is the second highest after stomach cancer in Bhutan. Choni Dama for BBS News.
3 public transport bus drivers in Phinsuling tested positive for drugs. The Road Safety and Transport Authority, in collaboration with the Bhutan Narcotics Control Authority, conducted the test recently.
2 of the drivers who tested positive are Bhutanese, while the third one is an Indian. They operate in between Phinsuling and the bordering towns of Samrup Jonkar and Siliguri in India. Over 90 professional drivers came for the test. They were required to provide their urine samples. The test was done with a test kit which detects about 10 different types of drugs. The RST will suspend the driving licenses of the 3 drivers for a minimum of 6 months. They will be handed over to the BNC for treatment or any other necessary actions. The reissuance of license, according to an official from the RST, will depend on the certificate issued by a BNC certified rehabilitation center. However, even after treatment, if a person is found positive for drug abuse, the RST will cancel his or her license. Bima Saldinsring, BBS News.
Now, giving is not just about making a donation. It is about making a difference. With this message to pass on to people, a team from Blind Music Training Center in Thimphu, through their inspiring short film, has encouraged over 6,000 people to donate their eyes. The short film portrays a short story about eye donation.
Targeting schools and Dasang in 20 districts, the team met with the students of Daga Central School and screened the film recently. A 35-minute documentary called Suffering in the Darkness is a story of two visually impaired lovers who undergo cornea transplantation. The operation is successful only for the girl. Jimmy Namgyal, the founder of the center, plays the lead role. The film also secured 5th position in Denmark amongst other 49 countries in 2014.
The eye donation is given only when we die. If we do this, we will be able to light others' life. And when they can see, they will be independent in their life. I don't think this is an impossible task.
To donate eyes to the visually impaired, we don't have to do it while we are alive. It is only when we die. They will take the cornea for transplantation. So I think it's not something that we cannot do. Through this documentary, we are explaining how a cornea transplant is done. And today, after screening the film, a lot of people came forward and said they didn't understand about eye donation before. And now as they do, they have signed with us guaranteeing to donate their eyes. Today, over thousands have signed the petition.
Meanwhile, with approval from the Education Ministry, the team collects cash donations by screening the film to help manage the training center. So far, 3 visually impaired students have passed out from the center and are now serving as music teachers in schools. The team has toured 5 districts so far and plans to cover the rest soon. For Namgyewonchu in Serang, Sonampem for BBS News.
The emphasis on early childhood care and development has grown considerably over the years as government realized its importance. Early childhood care is crucial, more so for children with special needs. This calls a need for inclusive child care centers. Though the ECCD guidelines require every child care center to be inclusive, not all are designed for children with different abilities.
This 3-year-old girl has Down syndrome, a condition which delays child's development both physically and mentally. She goes to the Play and Learn ECCD in Thimphu, one of the few centers that cater for children with additional needs besides other children. It is also among the handful ECCD centers that has trained facilitators who can identify and refer children with disabilities to medical support services.
We have had 2 children with disabilities. We identified and referred them for medical intervention. The hospital referred one of them to the Ability Bhutan Society. The ABS observed the child for 2 hours every day and then advised that the child be enrolled in ECCD, where she can socialize with other children.
Childcare specialists say segregating children with additional needs from other children is not healthy. Rather, it is immensely important for ECCD centers to be inclusive. Inclusive ECCD centers means having children with and without disabilities learn together.
Well, to the extent that it's possible, they should be in the same center because children with a disability still have needs of education, needs of stimulation, needs of socialization, like all children. And so there are advantages for them in being in the normal centres. There are also advantages for the children who don't have a disability in having their children there, because they learn tolerance, they learn that children are different.
Inclusive ECCD centers mean being equipped with facilities to suit the needs of children with disabilities. It also has to have facilitators with adequate skills and knowledge to teach a class that has children with diverse needs.
But they need to take into account that some of the children attending may have additional needs. So, for example, some children may not be able to walk up steps by themselves, so that you may need to build a ramp. Some children may not be able to feed themselves, so they may need special implements.
When we're building new ECCD centres or modifying centres, we need to think about making them accessible. So that way we're setting it up for an inclusive situation. We also need to make sure that we're supporting our ECCD facilitators and the DEOs as well, so as they have the skills to support children in how best they can learn and also how to include them.
But do we have what it takes to foster inclusive education? Are the needs of children with disability considered when establishing ECCD centers?
To be very specific, our ECCD centers are inclusive, but not the way it should be. In the guideline, it's very limited. The guideline says that the ECCD centers should be inclusive. Nothing more details has been mentioned. However, we have in our work plan that this year we are going to review the work, operational guidelines with the people from the relevant agencies, and also with our district education officers and the ECCD facilitators. And definitely we are going to address these issues.
Lack of trained facilitators is another challenge. The Education Ministry is designing an inclusive program at the national level, under which all ECCD facilitators will be trained. It is estimated that 21% of the children in Bhutan between the ages of 2 to 9 have some forms of disabilities. Research has proved that early intervention can improve the lives. The Education Ministry says it will strive to make all ECCD centers in the country inclusive. Pupgam for BBS News.
As capital waits for the country's biggest festival, the central monastic body marked the end of rehearsal with Chamju at the courtyard of Tashichezong. Chamju involves a religious dance without marks, which is essentially rehearsed before Sechu, an annual religious festival which begins on 30th September.
Chamju usually precedes the 3-day annual religious festival in the country. After a week-long practice, monks from Jungdrasang displayed for the last time the dances that would be performed during Thimpu Dromche and Sechu.
Tengyerinyilu the Chamju Pigomidi tetelen the Zowudera teta Lawa Drupcheda tetelen Sechu Shasumgi tetelen Gacharaberu the Tande Gara Tsusi the Chamgi Katuleberu Chusuru Gara teta Lejimbera Tisul
Past Chamju, Thimpu will then witness one-day Dromche, which is dedicated to the chief protective deity of Bhutan, Palden Lamo. The Dromche is celebrated 3 days prior to the Thimpu Sechu. One of the biggest festivals in the country, Thimpu Sechu began in 1867 when it was initiated by the 4th Desi, Gyaltse Tenzin Rabge. The festival is held in the capital for 3 days, beginning 10th day of the 8th month of lunar calendar. It is also an occasion for many Bhutanese from nearby districts to gather at the capital to get a break from farm life, immerse in a festive time, socialize, celebrate, receive blessings, and pray for health and happiness. Sonam Phunso for BBS News.
Although Menbi Gyeog of Lindsay marked Dochung, a festival native to the Gyeog this time, it is not sure whether things will be the same next year. For the past 3 years, a group of dancers from one of the 2 participating Gyeogs have been refusing to perform the festival Dochung. Dochung in local dialect means to dance.
The 4-day annual festival this time, celebrated after a gap of 3 years, saw only dancers from Tangmachu and Gorgan Chiwok perform. The other group from Kamdar, declining to participate, has left the locals worried. For years, a few households from the two Chiwoks have been performing at the local festival as a form of tax payment.
The
Dzongkhag and Geok administrations told us not to discontinue the festival. But this time, a group from Kamdar failed to perform at the festival because their chief dancer refused to take part. The dancers from our Chiok participated as usual.
Despite the officiating cultural officer's request, the chief dancer refused to dance. Her mother is from a different village and she cannot pay the tax on her father's behalf. The decision was submitted to the Zongda in writing. The Zongda then asked her to come and see him, but she refused that as well.
It used to be celebrated with much grandeur in the past. Our forefathers used to tell us that we should continue with the practice. It is a sort of offering to our local deities. We believe that if we keep the festival alive, peace will prevail in our society.
The locals have also filed a case with the court against the chief dancer for refusing to participate. The trial is underway.
I don't think we should not do away with our local festival. It is a special occasion for us, and from next year, we are planning to include more entertainment programs.
Although no one knows when the festival was first marked, it is a time of year for the people of Minbi to gather dressed in their finest attire and feast as they grow together as a community. For Sunam Sring in Longsi, Choni Dama for PBS News.
The Amochu Land Development and Township Project is expected to begin later this year. Asian Development Bank has allocated $53 million for the project. The Vice President of the Asian Development Bank, who was in the country, said ADB is working on the approval process. The implementation of the project was initially conceived in 2003. The project is expected to enhance its trading capacity by providing more space and opportunities for trade in the country.
This project is very important, I know, for the country. And for ADB also, this is a project we, ADB, and we already negotiate with the government on this. We finished the negotiation already.
Ani legul de tu gitunle khachauchi matse Asian Kongping Yukang gitunle shunda chika dedik be sadiwi bi legul chi. Taliba legul de chaju gitunle Asian Kongping Yukang gi kyosok nalu tsunebi yeble duchi login nang kyora chaju chung subire wadu. Dibiole ladisu chosube be subongsin ume.
So I think we need to implement project as soon as we can. So I hope that we can speed up the process.
That's all we have for you this week. Thank you for investing your time in us. This is Sharab Dorji saying goodbye.